Welcome, my dear audience and friends, to the very first episode of Cancer Convos with Grace B. This is your host, Grace B, coming to you from New York City, the city that never sleeps and is home to Cancer Convos with Grace B. Here's wishing everyone a very happy, healthy, and prosperous new year. And as we always say on the show, prevention is better than cure. So make sure to get your medical checks done. All right. So in this episode, I'd like to reiterate, first of all, that February is the 4th is World Cancer Day. And I'm trying to make sure that, I keep on harping for everybody to make sure that, they take care of themselves, especially the men. Why? Because men are usually the last persons to discuss their health challenges. Now, the theme for World Cancer Day is closing the gap, especially in healthcare inequities. And this is one of the things that we will be speaking about on our show today. And so in this episode, we are so delighted to host a cancer survivor who is raising his voice in this regard, especially speaking to his brothers, and who was also diagnosed with a type of cancer that I won't share, I'll allow him to share that with you. And also, aside his shocking cancer diagnosis, he faced an additional toll to secure equal treatment as a Black man. And we shall be hearing more about his experience shortly. So my wonderful guest is a husband, a father, an accounts director for a trailblazing pharmaceutical digital company based in the UK that is actually going to be sharing his experience and wisdom nuggets with us. Therefore, without spilling too much of the beans, allow me welcome my dear brother from across the pond, Odu Bamgoshe. Thank you so much. Odu, thank you so much for coming on the show. Pleasure
My
to have
pleasure.
you.
My pleasure indeed. Thank you very much.
Yes, so let's get straight to the topic. Please tell us a bit about yourself before I'll now,
Before you nail me down with the
narrow
questions.
you down.
Okay,
Thank
well,
you.
hello everybody. Thank you for giving me your time. As Grace has said, my name is Odu Bangboshe. I'm of Nigerian heritage, Yoruba heritage, but born in the UK. In a lovely northwest town called Bolton. So you might hear the twang of a northwest accent from time to time. Um, I'm 57 years old, married for 25 years, two grown daughters, one who is a newly qualified teacher, and my youngest who is living the life of a student in Cardiff. I like to cook, I like to bake. The cooking is a godsend in my house. I live with three women and I'm the best cook.
Wonderful. When I come to London this time,
Yes,
I'm going to
definitely.
taste your
I, I
food.
I I make a mean egusi soup, Grace. So
Nice. I love egusi.
yes, very nice. So I'm introducing my English friends to the culinary delights of Nigeria at the minute, bit by bit. So it's which is going quite well. What else about me? I like mojitos, caipirinhas, champagne, and red wine.
Mhm.
And I describe myself as an armchair keep fit fanatic. So I, so I look at all the ways to keep fit, but just do very little about it.
Visually,
Um,
visually.
but the visual, but on that note, I play tennis a little, and I swim quite regularly now. So yeah, that's me in a very quick nutshell.
That's wonderful. So, Odu, let me just mention it in a sentence that you're a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma survivor.
Mm.
And I would like you to, run us through, um, starting from the very beginning, what your experience with this type of cancer. is all
Okay.
about, please.
All right. Well, as with most people, I think being diagnosed with a cancer came as a tremendous shock. Um, and the very first question I asked my consultant when he rang me on the 6th of January 2021 to sort of like say, right, your biopsies come back. There is a cancer. It's B-cell non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. My first question was, well, is it going to kill me? And he said, no, not this one. But you might be poorly for a while. Um, but we think we can get it and sort it out. And it was fortunate that it was stage 2
Hmm.
that they found. So yeah, it was a big shock. I think there was silence in my house for about 3 days where we were just all numb. But the thing that set me on the road in terms of how I was going to deal with the diagnosis and the prognosis was that
Hmm.
I was told that I wasn't going to, my death wasn't imminent.
Hmm.
So I just thought, okay, um, the powers that be have decided I'm going on this journey. Uh, how am I going to handle it? And I mean, what's surprising in terms of my family heritage, there's no sign of cancer anywhere in the whole of the family. So it was a very big surprise. And leading up to my diagnosis, I'd just not been well
Hmm.
um, for maybe about 18 months, 2 years. I was a traveling trainer in the hospitality industry. So I was up and down the country. I was sat in my car, and I was just like, okay, maybe I'm not eating as well as I should be, looking after myself as well as I should be, but it's just part and parcel of the job. But every bug that came, I got. Every sniffle that came, I
Hmm.
got. My sleep was all over the place, still is to be fair, but um, yeah, just generally not well. And then one weekend in November of 2020, I had a pain in my lower back around my kidney area, and it had been there. I had it on and off, and just thought, right, actually, maybe I'm drinking too much, or I'm not drinking enough water. So just doing all those things to try and alleviate it. Until this one weekend, the pain was that bad, it put me in bed.
Wow.
Um, so I admitted to hospital, and the initial registrar that saw me on triage was like, it's gallstones. We're gonna open you up, and we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that." And that was before they'd done any blood tests
Anything.
or
Yes.
anything. She just automatically said, "It's gallstones. We'll get you in theatre this afternoon. We'll do this, we'll do that." And I was just like, "Oh." Somebody else came along and said, well, we'll get your bloods done first and everything, and we'll see what happens.
Hmm.
And of course, I really wasn't given the symptoms for gallbladders, because people say if you have gallbladder, you are in abject agony,
Hmm.
rolling around, screaming around. And I wasn't like that. I was just in discomfort. So
Right.
anyway, they took my bloods on that day, came back. The markers weren't showing that I had any form of gall issue.
Hmm.
Um, but they weren't convinced with the results, so they then sent me for some scans,
Hmm.
and then on one of the scans realized that they could see a mass around my gallbladder, but it was very difficult to see. Um, so I then had to go for an endoscopy, um, and
And
I
just
was
for the benefit of the audience, what is an endoscopy?
it's where they put a camera down you to get a better look
Okay.
inside.
Hmm.
I was given general anesthetic, so they put me out, and I was under for quite a while. And when I came to, the guy that did the endoscopy said, "Really sorry that you're under for so long, but where the mass is was very, very difficult to get to." So basically, they found this mass at the base of my sort of like liver, kidneys, gallbladder. So, but it was right at the back of
Oh, wow.
all of
Hidden, actually.
hidden. So they then sent me for a biopsy, and
Hmm.
me being me, I was sort of like, still, oh, la 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 la. I'm going for biopsy, and my wife's going, why are they going for? Why are you going for a biopsy? And I said, well, they've just sent me for one. And then the results from the biopsy came back, and they told me that I had B-cell non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So it
Wow.
was, and we were in the middle of the pandemic as well. Um, so my treatment was literally decided um, very, very quickly. I was going to have, they couldn't decide whether I was going to have a 6 cycle, 8 cycle, or 12 cycle.
Hmm.
So I had to go and have more scans so they could decipher the size of the mass.
Hmm.
And the mass, what was it? Was it 52 centimeters or something like that? The mass
Lord.
was, but you couldn't. There was no physical manifestation on me that this was going on in my body. So they obviously with the prognosis and told me that what was good about it was that it was stage 2. What wasn't so good about it was that they were going to give me the most severe chemotherapy treatment to try and get it first time and completely zap it.
Yes.
So I had the chemotherapy, which the acronym is RCHOP. So each
R
letter
chop.
RCHOP, R C H
CHOP.
O P. So each letter stands for one of the chemicals of the chemotherapy cocktail.
Right.
Um, they were giving me the highest dose, and they decided on 6 cycles, and I would have a gap of between 3 and 6 weeks on each cycle,
Okay.
depending on how I responded after each cycle.
Hmm.
Um, so the treatment began. I remember the senior cancer nurse saying to me, he was like, "Oh, this is going to be quite interesting. We've never had anybody of color. We've never treated anybody of color here."
Seriously?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So this is going to be quite interesting to see what happens. Um, I have to say, overall, my treatment journey was okay.
Hmm.
It wasn't great. It wasn't fantastic. I had one or two near misses. Um,
When you talk about near misses, what's that?
well,
Giving up?
no, no, I developed a blood clot, and
Okay.
they missed it, and this was around cycle
Wow.
3, and where the hand that because my chemo was done intravenously, so I had a cannula, and then I sat for 6 hours, and they pumped everything into me. So the hand that they were using, I think it was after my 3rd cycle, it just became really hot and really swollen. And initially, I just thought it's just wear and tear because they're going in the same place.
They're
They're going,
pricking you all the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's going in the same place, all that. But over the weekend, it just gradually got worse, and I went to the hospital to see the consultant. I didn't see my normal consultant. It wasn't one of my best days in terms of how I was feeling. In fact, I was really, really quite poorly that day.
Hmm.
And one doctor came to see me, asked me loads of questions, looked at my arm, prodded around. They then got the consultant to come and see me, and she went, "Oh yeah, it's most probably just wear and tear." Da, 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 da. They didn't scan me, they didn't do anything, and just sent me. And I really kicked myself afterwards because I thought I just abdicated responsibility
To
to them
them,
because that's what you think you do because they are the
the
experts
professionals, yes.
and everything. Anyway, God and the universe being on my side, on the Monday, um, the hospital rang me to say there'd been a cancellation for a scan. Would I like to come in? And I was like, oh, right, okay, fine. So I went in, and they, lubed all my arm up and everything, and we're going up my arm, blah blah blah. And then, you know, when the atmosphere just changes in the
Yes.
room, just deathly silence. The whole manner of the nurse and the technician just changed. And fortunately for me, I could see the screen. And I said, "What is that?" And they went, "Oh, it's a blood clot." And the blood clot was up here.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
it was up here. Fortunately, because of one of the medications that they were giving me, it had already started to break up.
Okay.
Um, so they were, but there was no apology, not just deadly silence, and they just tried to sort of like sweep it under the carpet. And I was just like, that could have killed me.
Yes.
And they didn't have an answer. They didn't have an answer. And I'm still yet to complain, really, because when I think about it, I really do get quite emotional about it. And when I want to complain, I want to take emotion out of it. But I've yet to have an apology from the, and it's in my records and so on and so forth. But nobody has deemed it important that actually we ought to ring this gentleman and sort of like say, yeah,
We're sorry.
we're sorry, we messed up, and we'll make sure that this type of thing doesn't happen again. But anyway,
Yeah.
that is
That is something to actually watch it. That's very important.
yes,
This
yeah.
is very
One of the
important.
things that I would say to other black men, other white men, anybody,
Yes.
um, don't abdicate the responsibility of your health to the professionals, even though they are the experts,
Yes.
um, because they can miss things, whether it's
Yes.
through negligence, whether it's through whatever,
Yes.
human nature,
Or
all
even
that type of stuff,
technology
or
too,
even technology as well. So it
as
is
we see.
it is really important. If there's one message that I would give out of from my journey and
That's
my
your sound
story
bite I'm going to
is,
put out
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah, is don't abdicate the responsibility of your health to the professionals. And
Yeah.
if you have to be a pain in the ass, excuse my French,
Yes, do.
then be a pain in the ass. Because of what I learned at the end of the day, I am the person that knows my body the best. You know the aches, you know the twinges, you know the pains. And yeah, they're the ones that have been to university and studied and studied and studied, but
Hmm.
you know your own body.
True.
What your body does and everything.
Absolutely. So,
So
so, so where are you currently? You're in
so
remission. Praise
I'm in
be.
remission. I'm in remission now. I'm coming up for 2 years remission
Oh, wonderful.
in July. I think I have to go 3 years clear
Okay.
before they tell me that I'm cured.
Okay.
So at the minute, I'm still seeing my consultant well, it was every 3 months. It's now gone to every uh, 4, 5 months. So I
Okay.
last saw him in November, and I'm going to see him again in March.
Okay.
Um, but the last time I saw him, he just said, if I have any issues or any concerns, that I should get in contact, because I did have a couple of times where the site where they actually found the mass
Mm-hmm.
was starting to hurt again,
Mm-hmm.
and I was getting concerned. But he said he tried to assure me to sort of like say, if it was going to come back, it would have come back by now,
Mm-hmm.
within that first year, 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
And when I had my last appointment with him, he gave me a good old poking and pointing and good examination, and seemed to be very, very happy with everything that was going on.
Absolutely.
Mm.
That's wonderful. I'm so happy that, touch wood, everything will
Touch wood,
be okay
everything
on
is, yeah,
the third year.
yes.
Um, uh, the thing that hit home was that I love that when you said never abdicate your health, to the professionals because you know your body best.
Yes,
And
yes,
this
yes,
is
yes.
something I keep harping on. And your lifestyle changes. What has actually changed ever since then?
Um, just various things really. I haven't gone gung ho, like, not eating this, not eating that, not doing this, not doing that.
Hmm.
I'm just really practicing being mindful of what I'm putting in my body. And
Hmm.
um I've over the year I've been a bit of a hedonist really. I was involved in hospitality and catering for many years. So I love food, I love drink. I
The good
I should
things
have
of life.
I should have been part of Bacchus's entourage, and I would have been really
The
happy.
god of wine.
Yes, 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 yes. Continuously feeding from the cornucopia. So I have just um, been mindful of what I eat, how I eat, um, and it's taken a long time because to be fair, I'm not disciplined. I have to tell the truth.
Oh,
I'm not
good.
disciplined, but I do try.
Hmm.
And I'm going through a phase at the minute now where I'm we're sort of like shifting to a more Mediterranean style of diet,
Hmm.
eating a lot more fish. I juice once a day,
Okay.
and just all the things that that are in support pamphlets and things like that. Exercise, walking. I hate walking. It drives me mad. And I have a dog, and but I just very rarely get enjoyment out of it. I'd rather go. I love my swimming, and I love being involved in sort of like group exercises. But because my health journey is still not stable, I've
Yeah.
not been able to sort of like really get into it and build a routine. So it's been stop, start, stop, start, stop, start.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
so um, just in terms, it's a lot better now, in terms that I religiously now have at least one juice a day.
Hmm.
Um, we maybe eat fish every day now,
Hmm.
rather
Hmm.
than just on a Friday like a good Catholic boy. Um, um, and yeah, drinking more fluids throughout the day, and just being mindful. Um,
Yes.
because I've had the cancer, I haven't become a zealot about, well, you can't do this, you can't do that,
Mm,
you can't do the other. And
mm.
I'm from the school that everything in moderation. And unless somebody says to me, actually, Odie, you need to stop
Mhm.
that, or it's going to kill you, then
Mm.
I'm going to enjoy myself when I can. But I'm
Mhm.
just very, very mindful now. So I'm not going to excess. And I actually don't know whether it's because I've had the cancer or whether it's just because I'm getting older and my body doesn't respond as quickly as 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 it used to.
With cancer, a lot of things change in the
It's like
body.
it's like a perfect storm. So, as I said, I'm 57 years old, and at times I feel like I have the body of an 80-year-old. And
Mm.
it was like the perfect storm. One morning I woke up, I was fine. The next morning I woke up, I had cancer, I had chemo. Chemo destroyed the cancer, but destroyed everything else in my body,
Else, yes.
and then have to build that up. And I think in terms of the chemotherapy, I'm still learning things
Yeah.
about the effects of the chemotherapy. One of the biggest things that I've suffered with was fatigue. And
Hmm.
I have to thank God now that it's not as bad, or I'm not having those attacks as I used to, because I was very, very active, very, very
Yes.
industrious. Even if it was just pottering the house, doing this, doing that, baking, cooking, it all takes energy and
It
stuff like that.
does. It
And
does.
for the last, only up until recently, you know cooking was a chore.
Hmm.
Um, baking, my hobby, was a chore if I
Hmm.
wanted to do it. And it's
Hmm.
only recently that I'm like, oh, I like being in my kitchen again, and I like pottering about and
Yeah.
doing like that. So fatigue is and fatigue it's fatigue is not just being overtired.
Hmm.
Fatigue is you literally cannot get out of bed.
Absolutely.
You can't,
Exactly.
the energy that it takes to go and brush your teeth and wash your face, or climb the stairs. Just when those attacks came on, it was like my body had been encased in a steel armor, and then I was asked to wade through mud and concrete. That's
Hmm.
what it because everything in my body protested. And
Yes.
yeah, so yeah, that's one of the things that
I
was
know. It's just
hard to.
it's just so much to take in,
Yes,
honestly.
yes, yes, yes.
Um, about any lifestyle changes which you had mentioned and everything. And so I'm happy to know that your mantra is everything in moderation because I'm like that as well.
Yeah.
Um, Eat the rainbow, do this, do that.
Yes, yes, yes.
The only thing that for me that I have cut down on is sugar because I used to be a sugar freak,
Right, 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 right,
so
right,
I
right.
eliminate that. I take just a bit of honey because honey has lots of sugars too.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
So
yeah.
that's really interesting
Mm,
to
mm,
know. So another thing I'm very curious about, which we had already spoken about your emotional well-being at that time.
mm,
And thankfully, you had family, very
hmm.
supportive, wonderful family that you have. Because for me, the caregivers are the ones that keep us going. By
Mm,
the time we finish all the treatments or interventions in the daytime, by the time we come back home, it's them that have to lift us up and encourage us.
mm.
And I'm so happy, as you had mentioned, that you have three Ch Charlie's Angels, actually.
Yeah. Odu's Angels.
Oh, those angels, to take care of you, and nothing
I'm
beats
very
that.
fortunate. I'm very fortunate that one that I have three loving females in my life. I'm also what the universe has given me in some of the friends that I have.
Yes.
Because so I had my immediate support network at home.
Hmm.
I had a support network from a men's charity group that I work with, and I sort of like um, curated my own group from the people that I work with there, who I used to speak with maybe once a month, once every 6 weeks on a Zoom call, and
Hmm.
they would just listen to me, just give me that space
Hmm.
to be and then encourage me and say what they wanted to say. I also then had a group of friends, um, some some that were from school, some that were from work. It was maybe about a dozen or so, and I used to. They sort of like knew my cycle, so there'd be updates for me, words of encouragement, and it was sort of like all headed up by my best friend, who sort of like controlled that. So I had sort of like three avenues that I could go down.
Wonderful.
Um, because during the time of the treatment, we were in the middle of COVID, and
Yeah.
all the other cancer support networks that were out there were there, but everybody was preoccupied and everything. So I joined the lymphoma support group, and that
Hmm.
was good in terms of just being able to read about other people's experiences. Um, and there are all types of lymphomas and everything. So
Yes.
just looking at what other people were going through,
Hmm.
them talking about their emotions and everything, really helped me just put things into perspective.
Yes.
And I laugh now, because some people have asked me, how do I feel about the whole thing now? And Grace, to be fair, I just find it a real inconvenience.
I know. I
I
know.
re- I just and I don't know whether that's right or that's wrong. And some people might think, oh my God, he's very blasé about the whole thing and so forth. But I just think, well, what else can I do? It can become all consuming.
It is.
And even though it is, there are other things that are still going on. And it's fun because the year that I was diagnosed was the year that I planned my new health regime out, and I was going to swim, and I was going to improve my tennis, and I was going to learn something, and all those things I could not do
Yes.
um, because of one thing or another.
You were
I
stifled.
I couldn't
Yes.
swim because they said you're immune. If you catch a bug in the swimming pool or anything, your immune system's not going to be able to cope. I couldn't eat seafood. I couldn't eat pate. I couldn't, and all of a sudden, yeah, life became an
It became a
inconvenience.
chore.
Yes, yeah, 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 yeah,
Just,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
all the things that you love to do, all the things
Yes,
that you
yes,
wanted to do. And
yes,
then COVID struck. So
yeah,
everybody was limited,
yes, 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 yes.
at the time,
But
honestly.
I am very grateful and very thankful. From diagnosis to end of treatment, um, and start of my remission took 7 months. That was my initial journey. And I have read some horror stories of people that have
Of
been put on
years.
watch and wait, and which I couldn't think of anything worse. So I've obviously been surrounded by my earthly angels as well as my, spiritual angels, because
Hmm.
even though there were some pitfalls, and I was very, very poorly at times, um, you know, I was done and dusted in 7 months.
Hmm.
And I've spent the last 18 months now, slowly but surely recovering. Um, and I've come to realize that, you know, my body is never ever going to be the same again. I'm never ever going to be the same again. I'm going to live with, if I get a niggle in that area, I'm going to be thinking, is it coming back? But I try very, very hard not to think like that. But sometimes you can't stop
You
those thoughts
can't.
from just
That
from
fear
just
of
rushing
recurrence
in.
will always be
Yes,
there.
yes,
It
yes,
will
yes, yes.
always.
But I don't want it to be a dictation
Hmm.
in my life, really.
No,
Um,
not at all.
so I'm very much um, taking opportunities full on when they come. Things that I wouldn't do before because I was, um, you know, not that I'm an irresponsible man. I've been a very responsible man for as long as I can remember, which goes with the territory of being first born in a Yoruba family. But but now, I'm just taking a little bit more time and doing a little bit more for myself,
Hmm.
which actually um, has really benefited everybody around me, especially my family. Um, because actually now the more I do for myself, the happier I am,
Hmm.
and the more I can give
Hmm.
um, to people. So I'm on a journey now of thinking about, right, what do I want to give? Some people have been very, very kind in terms of how, the descriptions of how they view me and everything. So I'm I'm coaching myself to become a coach, and I'd like
Wonderful.
to be a coach for. At the minute, my thought is that I'd like to be a coach for young black men. Well, not just young black men anywhere in the world.
Yes.
Because I know that black men anywhere in the world, a lot of us have a really hard rap. Um, I have been, I've had my moments, and I have been very, very, very fortunate. Um, and I'd like to be able to showcase that and show other black men and other white men, actually, to be fair, but predominantly I want other black men to see that, what I have is attainable. Um, I've worked very hard. I've been knocked back, as we all have. And because of the things like Black Lives Matters and microscopic racism and all this, they're all sound bites and topics of conversation at the moment. So it's it's a thing that's in my heart, but I think, right, I can actually contribute to this conversation in a positive way by doing something.
Yes.
Um, and so that's my journey.
So in a way of paying it forward,
Yes, 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 yes.
that which you beat me to it, because it's something that I wanted to ask you about, and you have, you know, just I didn't want you to gloss over it, but I'm happy you have really taken your time to um, talk about contributing to
Hmm.
black men. And we're talking about health inequities, earlier on,
Yeah, yeah. So
which yours is, you're probably just one of the millions that have had things overlooked.
yes,
And
very much,
in
very much.
retrospect, I mean, thinking, oh my God, I should have said something at that time. But afraid that if you did, it would probably stop
Hmm.
any
Hmm.
forward intervention in your
Yes,
matter.
yes,
And so, okay, let what needs to be done, let
yeah.
it be done.
Yeah,
Um,
I have to say, on the times during my chemotherapy treatment and the times that I felt that I wasn't being treated as well as everybody else, um, the responses were very, very favorable
mhm,
in the end, because there was a time, because one of the things was that the nurses said to me, if your temperature ever goes above 37.5 degrees, you need to ring the helpline, and you need
mhm,
to do, you don't. Well, it happened sort of like 3 or 4 times in succession, and the response that I got stopped me from ringing.
mhm,
And then when my temperature got to sort of like 39 degrees and I rang, and they told me off. And I said, well, the reason that I'm not ringing is because the last 4 times I've rung, I've felt to be made like I was a nuisance.
mhm.
So I was whisked into hospital, and the consultants came to see me, and they gave me their names, and they said, if this ever happens to you again, this is what you need to do, blah, 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 blah. And that I keep on harking back to, apart from the blood clot, whenever there was a problem, it was very swiftly rectified.
Good.
Um, but you'd rather not have the problem in the first place. Do you know
Yes.
what I mean?
Yes.
You'd rather that it was straight, right, right from the beginning.
Absolutely. Honestly, I do agree with you, and I'm so exhilarated about the fact that yes, we talk about white men, but I love the white men because they are more open to discussing their issues. Black
Mm,
men are not.
mm,
We our brothers still have we've been conditioned to taking everything in stride and looking after family. And like you said, as the firstborn of your family, um, you'd be found wanting if you started to complain about, do you understand, you're the
mm.
big egmont,
Yeah.
you have to carry everything on your shoulders, so you
Yeah,
can.
yeah, yeah,
and,
yeah,
and
yeah.
and so it's not just the African brothers mentality, it's the black man globally
Yes,
that
yes, yes.
comes up. So if
It's the culture
is
and
is
everything
is
like
is the
that.
culture. You
Mm,
you can't
mm,
blame them. So once with talking, with putting our voices out there to say, hey, if you have an ache, it doesn't stop you from being Mr. Hulk, but you have to deal with it. You have to talk about it
mm,
before it
mm.
becomes something much more
Something more,
serious.
yeah, very much so. And I think one of
Yeah.
my things is, um, I think men as a whole,
Mm.
and if we're talking about black men, um, when thinking about your health, people need to, in my humble opinion, people need to think about that your health is your wealth, um, because without your health, you cannot do what you can't follow your dreams, you
Yes.
can't be industrious, you can't be loving, you can't be supportive, you can't be
Mhm.
encouraging, because when you're not well, you haven't got the energy or the motivation to be able to follow your dreams and do all those things. And
Yes.
I would encourage men
Hmm.
to think about their legacy, um, think about what they are. We're all eventually going to die.
Hmm.
So think about, what are you going to leave behind?
Hmm.
What footprint are you going to leave behind for those that you have cared for, you've encouraged, for those that love you, um, for those that you love? What is your legacy? And it doesn't have to be a Rothschild legacy. It doesn't have to be, I want to be the richest man in the world.
Exactly.
It needs to be as simple as, well, my legacy is, you know I was a great husband, I was a fantastic father, I was a reliable friend, whatever. There's a whole thing that you can put out there. But I don't want to leave a legacy of, oh well, he was always sick and he couldn't be relied upon and he
Hmm.
couldn't do this and he couldn't
Hmm.
do that. So
Absolutely.
one of the things that I always say to men now is that there is no shame. If you carry shame with you, you're on a hiding to nothing.
Hmm.
So um, you need to get at that shame. You need to look at it. You need to see it. You need to see the color of it, and you need to deal with it, and then put it to one side, because shame helps no one.
It doesn't.
And when you go to the doctor, your doctor has seen everything and has been everywhere, and so, so there
True.
is there is
There's
nothing
nothing.
there's nothing that is going to shock them or make them recoil or whatever, because what you're going to show them and what you're going to discuss with them, they've heard 100 times before, they've seen 1,000 times before. They're there to help us, but yes, do not abdicate whole responsibility to the medical
To the
experts.
medical, yes.
Do
I
do do
I
do
honestly
do,
agree.
do your own research,
Your own homework.
and your own homework. Um,
S- Um, Something that I wanted to ask actually,
mhm.
that, sometimes when we go on this journey, as a cancer survivor, I know a couple of things that I wish I had known at the beginning that I know now.
Okay.
And I'd like to ask you that. Name one or two things you wish that you had known at the beginning of your journey, um,
Um,
and which you would love to share.
what would I have wished that I had known? Um, oh, I'd wish, well, apart from knowing, I wish that I had been given the opportunity to discuss alternative treatments
Okay.
rather than just going down the
Normal route.
normal route. And I did find that my medical team were very, very reluctant to discuss with me um, ulterior or ulterior
Other
methods of
options.
treatment, or
Mm,
things that would marry well. Doors literally just shut down, bosh, bosh, bosh,
mm,
bosh.
mm,
So I found
mm.
that I was going and looking for myself. I think also the extent, I would have liked to have known more of the extent and the myriad of side effects um, that I would encounter. So I became
wishing that you would have been told before.
before. Yeah. So
So you
one
were
of the
not told
steroids,
this before.
no, I wasn't. So one of the steroids that I was taking as part of my chemotherapy was, I for my cycle, I would go and have this infusion, and then I'd have a box or a cocktail of tablets that I would have to take that reduced as each week went by. And then
Hmm.
I'd go back, have another infusion, and then start all these tablets again.
Hmm.
And as I was coming towards the end, they changed some of my dosages and things like that,
Hmm.
and I became diabetic.
Oh dear.
I
You
became diabetic,
serious?
and I joke about the fact that I must have been the only cancer patient in the world that put weight on, that
Oh
didn't.
my, are you
my
serious?
my weight in the last sort of like 2 3 months, my weight ballooned, and I got diabetes, literally overnight. And when they were running around trying to sort everything out, and then the conversation was, "Oh yes, it's because of that steroid, and that's why
Oh
um,
dear.
you have become diabetic." My
So are you,
diabetes,
you're still diabetic
no,
up
no, no,
till
no,
now?
no, no, no. I bust
Okay.
that one. So that's now in remission.
Okay.
Um, but it was very severe, and it
Oh dear.
literally happened overnight. It literally happened. And I remember sitting there with my doctor, actually, not the consultant, saying, "I don't know why I wasn't told about this.
Yes.
That this could be, or it was missed
This
with
would
my,
be a side effect.
yes, this could be a possible side effect,
Hmm.
that you could get
You
diabetes."
see, these are the kind of things that we should put out there,
Yes,
because in other climes, these are things that would be possible to know with a simple blood test.
yes,
You know,
yes,
before they put you on a steroid, or before they put you on,
yes,
on whatever, they
mm,
need to know, the
mm,
repercussions of
mm,
those things, because they're still dealing with medications that, the conventional things have happened. Things are
mm,
changing.
very much
Um,
so. I think what I've learned as well is that, with now working for the pharmaceutical industry,
yes.
the pharmaceutical industry is built for non-black people.
Mhm.
It's not equitable in terms of the treatments that are available.
Mhm.
Um, for one dose of paracetamol works differently on a black man than it does on a white man,
Mhm.
and so on and so forth. Menopause, because it's something that's close to home at the minute. The treatments that are given to, one of my wife's colleagues, to the treatments that she's having, they don't work because our makeup is different, and
Biological makeup is different.
one size doesn't fit all.
Yes.
And the industry has got a lot to answer for. So, in my work, I'm part of, an equity diversity sort of like think tank. So we get together and talk about things of what can change, what can we do, and it's a mammoth thing, but you literally just have to chip away. Um, but um, to get more black people to become patients for clinical trials and things, the pharmaceutical company first needs to apologize for the atrocities that they've done over the years to various black communities, which, until I joined the company that I work for, I didn't know.
Yes.
And I when I
You
was a
learn
student,
every day.
when I
Yeah.
was a student, I'd been a clinical trial guinea pig when, when I was at university.
Yes.
Um, but with what I'm involved in now, and seeing the difficulties of getting more ethnic diverse people to come and do the trials and everything, but the pharmaceutical companies have shot themselves in the foot because they've done so many bad things
Mm.
to other ethnic groups that
Hmm.
the trust is minimal. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um,
I
so
understand. Yes. Yes. And this is why, th- uh, the theme for this year for World Cancer Day, but I call it, cancer, health, whatever, is addressing those health inequities, because you see, until you're on the other side of the spectrum, or wearing the other shoe, you don't know that this is what minorities are going through.
No,
You're talking about, you're mentioning your wife's friend about menopause. I can understand that, because there are several patients like us that have had early menopause because of chemo treatments.
Right.
And the what should I say, treatments as regards that, or the tablets or whatever that they give, the side effects are completely different from what is given, what happens to the Caucasian women.
Yeah.
Sometimes the Black women don't feel a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's as if, it's they don't feel any change. There is no change. But then when you speak to the Caucasian woman, oh, I don't have those hot flashes anymore. I feel better. So there's something in our biological makeup as Black persons, as Black people, that really have to, you're in clinical trials now, that one really has to dig deep to be able to understand that makeup, what is it,
so.
and how can they actually factor in that when they're dealing with their churning out medications. That's very interesting issues. Those are interesting issues that you have brought up. Very, very important, Odu. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So let me see. There was something that came to me as we were talking, and I'm like, having gone through what you as a Black man have experienced, which thankfully hasn't been too bad in comparison. What advice would you give to healthcare professionals on how to improve the standard of care for patients like us?
That's quite a difficult question to answer, because I could say we should encourage.
No, just from your point of view.
From my point of view.
Yeah, just your point of view.
They need to put themselves in our shoes, I suppose, and they need to go that extra mile to understand somebody's culture. Because it's just not all about giving medication.
Yes.
Is it? It's about how that person lives, what they're surrounded by, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
And I have a thing about one size does not fit all.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
One size does not fit all.
Yes.
And our medical professionals need to actually go that extra mile, regardless of whether it's a white person or a Black person. Go that extra mile to understand the whys, the hows, and the wherefores for that particular patient.
Or no, for that demographic.
Yes.
For that demographic.
Yes.
Because for the Caucasians it's different. For the Hispanics it's different.
It's different.
For the Black, Black men or African American men, or it's different. We're all different.
Very much so. Very much so.
Diverse physiological and psychological makeup. So those are things that really, when they're having their meetings, that they should talk about and discuss about, because definitely every patient will fall in one of those groups, and there should be a template on how to deal with that patient once they're faced with them.
Yeah, very much.
Right.
That would be it. Yeah.
Yes. So Yeah. And so if you could change one thing in the health system, what would just one thing in the healthcare system, you being in that spectrum, what would
Oh
it?
gosh,
I'm
that's
asking
tough
you
because
difficult questions.
that's tough because the NHS is on its knees at the moment
I know,
in the
I know. I
UK.
have cousins there.
And we the thing is though, people because I have friends that work in the NHS, and of course I've been involved with them quite recently.
Hmm.
Um, as a country, we really don't appreciate what the NHS is and does for us because I was horrified. My colleague who lives in New York,
Hmm.
talking to her about healthcare provision and everything in the States, and
Hmm.
literally, if you can't afford it, you die. Do you know what
Yes.
I mean?
I'm in the
And
States. I
it's
know exactly what's going on.
and people in this country do not cannot conceive. I even find it difficult to think of the fact that goodness gracious me, for everything that I have been through, um, I've not had to pay a penny because I pay through my national insurance or blah 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 blah. Um, but I would have if I'd been in America or maybe anywhere else in the world, I would have struggled to meet my
Yeah.
medical bills.
Yes. Absolutely.
So
Um,
I think in the UK, I think we well, I don't know what's going to happen with the NHS, whether there's going to be a two-tier system or whatever. And you know, a lot of us that work for companies, we have private medical care and so on.
mhm.
So we have that safety net.
Leverage. Yes.
But there's you know, I horrified that there's no safety net in the US and
Yes.
other places. So that literally,
Yes.
if you can't afford it, you become worse and you die. You
Yes.
know,
So
and
the financial toxicity affects all of us. I mean, I'm a cancer patient.
yeah,
I
yeah,
know
yeah.
what goes down, and unless you have Cadillac
Yeah,
insurance,
yeah. And morally, from my point of view,
hmm
that is just so wrong.
yes,
So wrong.
it's so wrong.
So
The
wrong.
NHS is fantastic, and then I have um, doctors I'm very close to in Australia who say,
Uh-huh.
"Heck, we would deal with anybody that is walking off the streets
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
needs medical attention first before ringing up an insurance company to say." Hey, is
Can
this
this person,
okay? Do we
yeah,
do
can
this?
this
Do we
person
do
afford
that?
this?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
the NHS, honestly, I have cousins who are doctors, and the NHS, you guys are so blessed. Um, um,
We are.
Thank God
But
for them.
it's taken for granted. It's
Yes,
taken for
it
granted.
is taken for
So
granted.
it's a
Yeah,
mess. It is a
yeah.
mess.
Mm.
So after experiencing it firsthand just a couple of weeks ago when I wasn't well, it's a mess. It
Yes,
really, really is.
yes.
But we still get treated, and we still get our medications and things.
Hmm.
But yeah.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
Thank you so much, Odu. We've had,
Thank
honestly, I
you. I've
wish
talked
we,
too much.
no, 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 I love it. I love it. So do I. I mean, we could speak for another 2 hours,
I'm sure we could.
but we'll have to make sure we come back again to talk about, especially um, your intention of becoming a coach. And
Yes.
I know that you're going to bring a lot to the table um, uh, with your, DEI, especially to do with Black men and,
Mm,
making
mm,
sure that the healthcare system, especially in your sector, what
mm.
they need to know about dealing with
Yes.
these issues,
Yes, 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 yes.
so that what can we do? We can only use our voices, like
We
this
can only use our
platform I
voices.
have.
Yeah.
This
Mm,
is this
mm,
is what I've been using for the last 4 years to bring these issues to the table, because a lot
Well,
of
as
people
as
are
as my
like,
dear departed mum would say, more grease to your elbow.
oh, amen, amen. We need people like you,
Uh,
to come on board and, share your views. I'm so blessed that you were able to come on, and
thank you,
touch wood, you will be in remission. God keeps you and keeps your family, and
thank you,
yeah, I know only the best for you and
thank you,
in the future. Thank you so
thank
much
you.
for coming on, Odu.
My pleasure, my
Really
pleasure.
blessed. So before I sign you out, let me just
Hmm.
say bye to the audience. So, my dear audience and friends, there you have it. You've been listening to Odu Bangboshe, my very good friend. He's now a brother from across the pond who has been sharing his insights on Cancer Convos with Grace B, talking about his health, talking about what, our Black brothers need to know, talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion as regards to healthcare, and giving us some very, very important sound bites, which we should hold close to heart. So, until the next episode, I say don't forget to do your medical checks, because until there's a cure, prevention is the cure. Ciao, ciao, and God bless. Bye.
Take care. Bye bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.